You know, of the spells that people argue that they would take in real life, prestidigitation comes up a lot. I mean, yeah, it'd be nice to be able to instantly clean yourself, perfume yourself, essentially, warm yourself up. Good things, good things. I think my choice might be today's spell with Enhance ability.
Enhance. Enhance. Enhance.
Just print the damn thing!
Second level transmutation, casting time of 1 action, range of touch, components, verbal, somatic material, fur, or feather from a beast. Duration, concentration, up to 1 hour. You touch a creature and bestow upon it a magical enhancement. Choose one of the following effects. The target gains that effect until the spell ends. Bear's Endurance, the target has advantage on constitution checks. It also gains 2d6 temporary hit points, which are lost when the spell ends. Bull's Strength, the target has advantage on strength checks, and his or her carrying capacity doubles. Cat's Grace, the target has advantage on dexterity checks. It also doesn't take damage from falling 20 feet or less if it isn't incapacitated. Eagle's Splendor, the target has advantage on charisma checks. Fox's Cunning, the target has advantage on intelligence checks. Owl's Wisdom, the target has advantage on wisdom checks. At higher levels, when you cast a spell using a spell slot of 3rd level or higher, you can target 1 additional creature for each slot level above 2nd. I mean, just being able to always have advantage in a single stat, if in a setting, real life, outside of combat, really good. You might be wondering why I might have high opinions of this spell. 1, it's only 2nd level, it's an action, sure the range is touch. Material component, yeah, but it doesn't cost anything. Concentration for an hour. That does take away from other options. But the thing is, the combat examples I don't really think are what's needed here. We're going to run through these. Though before we actually do that in all the scenarios, we're going to talk about combat first. In combat, similar to like elemental weapon, but not nearly as bad, there are better options. The temporary health is a nice, decent bonus, but that's to con, I guess if you're going against poison things. And these are always on ability checks. These aren't even on attack rolls. Not the best. There's better buff spells for combat, but this is not a combat spell. The temporary health being in the first option feature throws you off, making you think this is a combat spell. This is not a combat spell. This is an out-of-combat buff spell. Whether it's doing a task, trying to get past a barrier, alright, now we're gonna run through it. Bear's Endurance, probably the least worth of the bunch, so issue with Bear's Endurance, it is the useless one of the bunch. The temporary health is a bit nice. 12 temporary health for a 2nd level spell, it's not guaranteed to be that health. And the thing is, advantage on constitution checks, that does not include saves, which is where there's no constitution skill. And even when it comes to a raw check, using just straight up an ability score, constitution does not have those. Not many, at least. So, Bear's Endurance. Bottom of the list, even though it's written at the top. It's not even in order of the ability scores. It's in alphabetical order based off the animals, so that throws you off and gives a different expectation for the spell when you're first reading through it. Bull's Strength, we're now actually getting somewhere. Advantage on strength checks. This is the slight feature that comes up for Barbarian Rage as well. That doesn't happen that often because you're going to be using that in combat all the time. With this, if you're needing to lift something, force a door down, try and help carry someone, or needing to carry a chest or something heavy in a getaway scene, or just trying to excavate something. If you don't have a barbarian or someone who's classically tough, giving an ally advantage on all strength checks for an hour, or yourself, and then also doubling your carrying capacity for that hour, it's not bad. For the cost of a 2nd level spell slot, it's not bad. Grappling as well. Cat's Grace I can actually see coming in a little more useful than the strength one we just mentioned, namely because acrobatics checks. Let's say you have to, I know not the most common scenario, but like shimmying across a cliff's edge, or in a very dramatic one, like on a tightrope or trying to run across a beam. You now have advantage on making that check, which I would deem as acrobatics, depending on my own table rulings and such, and whether that needs a check or not. Like running that scene in Pirates of the Caribbean within the rafters of the smith's shop. That's where Cat's Grace would be really useful. And it's kind of the situation I think this was intended for. If you fall 20 feet, nothing. You take no fall damage. Advantage on dexterity checks, which also include stealth, sleight of hand, and you're following me, right? It's not just acrobatics and walking around, even though, again, the 20 feet kind of alludes to that. Which, yes, the no fall damage off of 20 feet is pretty nice. But giving someone or multiple targets by upcasting advantage on stealth, sleight of hand checks, acrobatics, tools checks that also use these ability scores, pretty good. And then the last three, they don't have an additional perk, but they don't really need to, because all of these are just for good checks. When it comes to wisdom, perception, insight, just giving someone advantage on that for an hour, pretty good. Charisma, intimidation, deception, persuasion, pretty decent to have advantage on for an hour. Intelligence for history, religion, medicine. Oh no, is medicine wisdom? Medicine's wisdom and nature's intelligence. You get what I mean. Just, that is the main feature of it, and the majority of utility skill checks are in those three mental stats. The additional features in the first three are more making up for the fact that those are mainly used in combat or just health. That's also why Constitution gives you health as its additional feature. So in simpler terms, avoiding all the wording, the allusion to beasts, and like enhance ability, this is, do you want advantage? It's just advantage for an hour that you can hit multiple targets with and is best used as utility outside of combat. And for being just a second level spell, and since it's mainly going to be used outside of combat, I can see the concentration being worth it. Heading into a party, a social event, a gathering, being able to cast this, being able to upcast this and then having it on multiple targets and ahead of time walking into a party or needing to do investigation checks during some kind of study, entering into a library, want help searching for those instructions, need to keep a night's watch on the guard, looking for clues, going to talk and intimidate people. Like this, it's, do you want advantage on skills? This is your spell. Ignore for the time those additional features in the first three. That throws you off on what this spell actually is. 9th level, Foresight, gives you advantage on every skill check, in addition to other things, but gives you advantage on every skill check. That feature, while narrowed down to a specific ability score, is a part of Foresight you can get at 2nd level. Wording it like that, it's not that bad of a spell. When it comes to world building, oh man, if anyone can get their hands on this, of course they're gonna want this. Heading up to walk into every situation I was just talking about, partying and venturing, having this in day-to-day life, an instructor, professor, or researcher having advantage for an hour on all those intelligence checks. Doctor, city's watchman, or again, a diplomat, a merchant, a doctor, a craftsman, any of these just to have advantage. It's enhancing your abilities that you already have. That is where the spell is most useful. Well, that was a bit of a passionate explanation. 7 out of 10. Combat, yeah, not the best, but this is the utility. This is not adding an effect. This is just making every skill that you can do have advantage virtually. Not at the same time, but virtually.